All right, so today we're diving into something that honestly every traveler should have on their radar, especially if Mexico is calling your name.
Absolutely. It's one of those things you don't think you need until, well, you really need it.
Exactly, and then it's too late. So picture this: you're in Mexico, maybe you're finally checking those Mayan ruins off your bucket list, or you're trying all those amazing street food, really soaking it all in,
Living the dream
right? And then, bam, you need a doctor.
happens more often than you think.
Yeah. And suddenly that dream vacation can turn into a real uh, financial nightmare if you're not prepared.
100%. I've seen it happen.
So that's why we're tackling this topic today. We're taking a deep dive into short-term emergency medical insurance and what it means for your trip to Mexico. And to guide us through this, well, we've got the ultimate expert in the field.
We do. We're tapping into the knowledge of Brett Lamar, a leading insurance broker.
Yeah. And he specializes in healthcare in Mexico, so he really knows his stuff. He's helped tons of travelers avoid some pretty hairy situations down there.
Oh, yeah. Stories for days.
Seriously. So let's get right to it. Break it down for us. What exactly does short-term emergency medical insurance cover?
All right. So it's like a safety net, like you said, for those unexpected emergencies, those medical emergencies that can pop up during trips to Mexico.
Okay, so we're talking like trips up to 6 months.
Yeah, trips up to 6 months, that's the sweet spot. We're talking accidents, sudden illnesses, anything that just screams, get me to a doctor, stat.
So not like your regular checkups or, managing any existing health issues you might have.
Right, right. This is for the, oh no, I need help now situations.
Like if you break your arm trying to surf, or maybe you get a little too adventurous with the street tacos and end up with food poisoning.
Exactly, things you just don't plan for. And there's kinds of emergencies. I mean, they can really drain your bank account, especially if you end up needing treatment at a private hospital.
Yeah, I've heard those private hospitals in Mexico, they can be pretty pricey.
Yeah, they often have a higher standard of care, which is great, but it comes at a cost.
For sure. And haven't we all heard those stories about hospitals asking for a big deposit up front before they even treat you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some places, especially the private ones, they might ask for a deposit sometimes like $10,000 before they lift a finger.
10,000.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And that's whether you have insurance or not, so it's something to be aware of.
Wow, I mean that's a huge chunk of change, especially when you're supposed to be, enjoying your vacation and relaxing.
Totally. It's a vacation budget killer for sure.
So I'm curious, why can't people just use their health insurance from back home? Like, wouldn't that cover them?
Yeah. You'd think, right? But it's actually a pretty common misconception. A lot of people assume they're covered abroad, but their home insurance might not work in Mexico, or the coverage could be super limited.
So it's really a gamble then.
It is a big one. You definitely don't want to rely on that.
Okay, so that brings us back to this short-term emergency medical insurance.
Mm.
What are some of the things people should think about when they're choosing a policy?
All right, so a few key things. First off, pre-existing conditions. You got to think about those. A lot of those standard travel insurance policies, they either don't cover them at all or only cover very specific complications that pop up from them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, and this is where Brett Lamar comes in, he's really good at finding policies that actually offer coverage for pre-existing conditions, even if you're only going for a short trip.
Really? Even for short trips? That's awesome.
It is. It's a big deal for people who, might be a little hesitant to travel because of their health.
Yeah, I bet that gives people a lot more peace of mind. Can you, give us an example of how this pre-existing condition coverage works in real life?
Sure. Let's say you have asthma.
Okay.
A standard policy, it might not cover like your regular inhaler refills, but let's say you have a really bad asthma attack while you're in Mexico, maybe triggered by something specific to the environment there, like, I don't know, some kind of pollen you're not used to, or the air quality. That's when the coverage kicks in.
Oh, I see. So it's not about getting treatment for the asthma itself. It's about those unexpected problems that come up because you're in Mexico.
Exactly. It's a subtle but super important difference.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But finding these policies that actually cover pre-existing conditions, it sounds kind of tricky, to be honest.
It can be. There's a lot of fine print.
Yeah, that's why having someone like Brett Lamar on your side seems pretty invaluable.
It is, and that's one of the biggest perks of working with a broker like him. He's not just going to hand you a random policy and say, see you later. He actually takes the time to figure out what you need, digs into your medical history, and then he goes out and finds policies that actually offer the right coverage for you.
So it's like having a personal healthcare advocate, someone who speaks insurance language and who actually understands how the Mexican healthcare system works.
Exactly. It's a totally different experience than just, trying to figure all out yourself online.
Yeah, I can imagine that's pretty overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
And with Brett, it's like you're getting personalized attention. You're not just another number.
It's a big difference. You're not just buying a policy, you're buying a service. He's your expert. You can ask him anything before your trip, during your trip. He's there. He can even help you if you need to make a claim on your insurance.
Which, let's face it, that can be a real headache, especially if you're dealing with a medical emergency in a foreign country.
Oh, tell me about it. It's stressful enough as it is. You don't want to be battling with paperwork and phone calls on top of everything else.
Right, exactly. So Brett's taking a lot of that stress and uncertainty out of the picture, basically letting people just relax and, well, enjoy Mexico.
That's the goal. He wants people to experience Mexico without worrying about what happens if they get sick or injured.
Yeah, because that's the last thing you want to be thinking about when you're, like, swimming with whale sharks or exploring ancient temples, right?
Definitely not. It's all about peace of mind, knowing that you're covered no matter what.
And it sounds like that's what Brett's all about, that peace of mind.
He is. He's there to guide you through it all, answer all your questions, and make sure you've got the right coverage for your specific needs. And, he really knows the Mexican healthcare system inside and out. That's invaluable for travelers.
It definitely is. Makes a strong case for working with a broker, especially someone with his expertise.
No doubt about it. Especially when you consider that he offers all this guidance for free.
Wait, did you say free?
Yeah, free.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's no charge to get a quote from him or to talk to him about your, insurance needs. He's happy to answer any questions, and he can help you find the best options for your trip, completely free.
That's incredible. So there's really no reason not to reach out to him then.
Exactly.
So if our listeners are like, okay, I'm sold, I need to talk to this guy, what's the best way to get in touch with Brett Lamar?
Easiest way is his website. It's brettlamar.com. It's got everything you need, information about his services, testimonials from other travelers he's helped, and, of course, a form to request a free quote.
Perfect. So brettlamar.com. Got it. And I'm guessing it's better to get this all sorted out sooner rather than later?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't wait till the last minute, especially if you've got, any pre-existing conditions. It takes a little more time to find the right policy in those cases.
Right.
And plus, when you get your insurance figured out early, it just takes a load off your mind, You can actually enjoy planning the rest of your trip.
Absolutely. Who wants to be scrambling for insurance when they're supposed to be packing their bags and, getting excited about their trip?
No one. It's way better to have it all taken care of.
All right, so let's recap. If you're planning a trip to Mexico, especially if you have any pre-existing conditions, reach out to Brett Lamar for a free consultation.
Can't hurt.
Not at all. He'll help you find the right short-term emergency medical insurance to protect you and your wallet while you're exploring Mexico.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. Peace of mind, knowing you're covered no matter what happens, and then you can just focus on enjoying all the amazing things Mexico has to offer.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of which, we've been talking about short-term coverage for those, shorter trips. But what if someone falls head over heels for Mexico and decides to stay longer?
Oh, I love those stories.
Right. Like what happens when short-term turns into long-term? What kind of insurance options are out there for people who, maybe decide to make Mexico their home away from home?
That's where things get really interesting. We're talking long-term health insurance, maybe even looking into Mexico's national health care system. A whole other ball game.
No, that's a lot to unpack. Definitely sounds like a topic for another deep dive.
Definitely. But for now, let's make sure everyone's covered for their upcoming trip to Mexico. Short-term emergency medical insurance, it's a must. And Brett Lamar is the guy to help you navigate it all.
Absolutely. So to everyone out there dreaming of those stunning beaches and those ancient ruins, and of course all that delicious Mexican food.
Don't forget about protecting your health just as much as you plan your flights and hotels.
Get that short-term emergency medical insurance sorted out. Talk to Brett Lamar. He's your key to a stress-free, unforgettable Mexican adventure.
And his website, it's brettlamar.com. Easy to remember. Everything you need to know about protecting yourself in Mexico.
Don't let a medical emergency ruin your dream trip. A little preparation goes a long way.
And remember, confidence and peace of mind, it all starts with the right insurance coverage.
Safe travels, everyone. Adios. It's kind of wild how just talking to someone who knows their stuff, like Brett, can totally change how you think about insurance. It doesn't have to be this scary, confusing thing.
It really doesn't. He's got this way of making it actually understandable, even if you don't speak insurance.
Yeah, and that's huge, especially when you're dealing with healthcare in another country.
Yeah.
It's like you need someone who's been there, done that, seen it all.
Oh, totally. Brett's been living in Mexico for like over a decade, so he gets it.
Yeah.
He knows the healthcare system firsthand. He knows the hospitals, the doctors, the whole nine yards.
So it's like you're not just getting insurance, you're getting this insider knowledge, almost like a local guide for your health.
That's a great way to put it.
So besides, you know, knowing Mexico like the back of his hand, what else makes Brett stand out as a broker?
Well, he's like super accessible. He doesn't just disappear after you sign up.
Oh, yeah.
He's there for you if you have questions, concerns, even if you need help finding a doctor.
That's got to be reassuring, especially when you're in a new place and, things feel a little uncertain.
Big time. He's committed to supporting his clients like throughout their whole time in Mexico.
Yeah.
And he's really transparent about his fees, no hidden surprises or anything. He's upfront about pricing, doesn't try to push extra coverage you don't need.
Which builds trust, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not getting, taken advantage of.
Exactly.
And speaking of cost, you mentioned earlier that getting a quote from Brett is totally free.
Totally free, no strings attached.
It's like a free consultation with a top-notch expert. Who wouldn't jump on that?
Seriously, it's a no-brainer, especially if you're planning a trip to Mexico and want that peace of mind, knowing you're covered if something happens.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, okay, I need to talk to Brett, what's the best way to reach him?
Head over to his website, brettlamar.com. Super easy to remember. It's got all the info you need, about his services, testimonials from other travelers, and of course the form to request that free quote.
Awesome. So brettlamar.com, got it. And timing-wise, when should people start looking into this?
Sooner the better, honestly, especially if you have pre-existing conditions, because those can take a bit longer to find the right coverage for. Plus, when you get your insurance sorted out early, you can just, relax and focus on planning the fun stuff.
Makes sense. No one wants to be stressing about insurance last minute.
Definitely not.
All right, so to sum it all up, if Mexico's on your travel list, short-term emergency medical insurance, it's a must. And Brett Lamar, he's the guy to help you navigate it all. He'll find the right coverage for you, and he's there to support you every step of the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about peace of mind, knowing that you're protected no matter what, so you can just focus on soaking up all the amazingness that Mexico has to offer.
And speaking of amazingness, we've been talking short-term trips. But what if someone falls in love with Mexico and decides to stay a while? Like, maybe become an expat and really dive into the Mexican lifestyle?
It happens all the time. People come for a visit and they just get hooked. The culture, the people, the slower pace of life, it's magnetic.
So what happens when short-term becomes long-term? What are the insurance options for people who, maybe want to call Mexico home for a while?
Oh, that opens up a whole new world. We're talking long-term health insurance plans, maybe even looking into Mexico's national healthcare system.
Wow, that's a whole other conversation.
It is.
Sounds like a topic for another deep dive.
Absolutely. But for now, let's make sure everyone's got their ducks in a row for their upcoming trip. Short-term emergency medical insurance, it's essential. And Brett Lamar, he's the expert to guide you through it.
You got it. So for all those out there dreaming of those beautiful beaches and ancient ruins, and of course, all that incredible Mexican food.
Don't forget to protect your health just as much as you plan your flights and accommodations.
Get that short-term emergency medical insurance figured out. Reach out to Brett Lamar. He's your key to a stress-free, unforgettable Mexican adventure.
His website, brettlamar.com, super easy to find, has everything you need to know about protecting yourself in Mexico. Don't let a medical emergency derail your dream trip. A little planning goes a long way.
And remember, confidence and peace of mind start with having the right insurance coverage.
Safe travels, everyone. Adios.
Adios, yes. It's interesting, isn't it? We talk about insurance like it's, protection from all the bad stuff, but maybe it's also about embracing those what-ifs a little more.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, if you're always worried about getting sick or hurt, especially in a new place, it kind of stops you from really enjoying the trip, doesn't it? You might skip out on things or not try something new because you're too scared of what might happen.
True. Fear can really hold you back, especially when you're traveling.
But when you know you're covered, no matter what, it's like this weight lifts off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you can be more adventurous. you're more likely to say yes to those random opportunities, the kind that make the best stories later on.
Yeah, it's like you're breaking down that mental wall that's keeping you from really experiencing things.
Exactly. So instead of stressing about medical bills, you can be exploring those hidden cenotes, trying that street food that looks a little too spicy, or hiking to that amazing viewpoint.
It's about shifting your focus from, worry to excitement, from what could go wrong to all the amazing stuff that could happen.
And when it comes to Mexico, there's a whole lot of amazing waiting to be discovered. So much culture, history, natural beauty.
And the people, so warm and welcoming. It's a special place for sure.
So to everyone listening, if you're dreaming of that Mexican adventure, remember this. A little planning, especially for your health, can make a world of difference. It can turn a good trip into an unforgettable one.
Don't let fear hold you back. Get that short-term emergency medical insurance. Talk to Brett Lamar. He can answer all your questions, help you find the perfect policy for you.
And then get out there and experience all that Mexico has to offer.
Adios to worries. Hola to adventure.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Remember to check out Brett Lamar's website, brettlamar.com, for all the info you need on staying safe and healthy in Mexico.
And until next time, safe travels, everyone.
Adios.